So thank you for doing that. And it's a great segue for my talk this morning, which is sacred study. And we're wrapping up our series this month, which is Tools of the Trade, as we're working on throughout this entire year on building our spiritual foundation. So, Tools of the Trade, sacred study. When's the best time to fix a leaky roof? Before the storm, right? Absolutely. Before the storm. And being prepared is one of the benefits of sacred study. Another is to remind us of what we already know, but maybe have forgotten or are not using. And the third way is to learn something new. Before we talk about these benefits, though, I want to talk about what is sacred study. What is sacred study? It's a committed practice to studying sacred materials, whether that's the Bible, the Quran, the science of mind, the Bhagavad Gita, perhaps the Upanishads, or maybe it's some of the teachers that teach spiritual ideas, like Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, or any teacher that is bringing forward spiritual knowledge to us. Study leads us to an expanded understanding of love, of life, of our own sense of beingness. Study that starts with the intellect, but opens the heart. Opens the heart. Sacred study includes taking spiritual enrichment classes like the ones that we offer here. And it can watch online videos. There's lots of those out there, YouTube. Ours on Wednesday nights, if you need a refresher on this one or you miss a Sunday. You can read books, listen to lectures, Sunday services, attend retreats, meditations. There's virtually an unlimited supply today available to us of ways for receiving spiritual enrichment. Would you agree? Lots of them. And we appreciate you being here with us each and every Sunday. So, how does sacred study help us to be prepared? How does it help us? Since we are evolving spiritual beings, constantly learning and expanding our awareness about everything. Have you noticed that? We're constantly learning new things. And it seems, I don't know if it's just me, that the pace of that learning is accelerating. There's more and more and more. And each new understanding that we get prepares us for the next level, doesn't it? How many people have a cell phone? Most everybody has a cell phone, right? Remember when they first came out? Most of us came from either a rotary phone or the push button phone. And you pick up that phone, you have your dial tone, you dial, and somebody answers. Well, you picked up that brick. I recognize the keyboard, I punch the buttons, but I don't get a dial tone and nothing happens. What do I do? You got to hit send, right? So we learned how to use that. And then on all those experiences built where we all walk around with many computers in our hands today, right? But we've learned over these 30 years, 40 years of its iterations, the evolution of cell phones, how to use them. So we're building on that. In our spiritual development, most of us started with something called the foundations class. How many have had it? Yeah, most of us. Yeah, several times. I see multiple hands. I've had it many times. And the good thing about that is that you can take it many times. You can take it many times. The material never gets old. But that class is the foundational ideas of the science of mind. And all of our other classes then build upon that. It's a 10-week class that gives us basic ideas and basic principles of this teaching. But then the other classes become a little more specific, if you will, like the class Reverend Lee is teaching right now on the art and science of spiritual mind treatment, completely focused on prayer. So that's very specific, but it builds on what you learned in the foundation class. So that's the preparation, right? Spiritual study is the preparation. Sacred study also prepares us for the storms of life. Most of us have had one or two of those, perhaps in relationship or health or creative expression, financial flow. And sacred study helps us to be prepared for those, whether that be some dark night of the soul or whether it's some wonderful good coming into our lives. And we may think, you're crazy, Reverend Jill. I can take all the good there is. But has anybody ever sabotaged your good? We're just not ready to receive something so far outside of our paradigm, outside of our comfort zone, that we subtly, our subconscious will sabotage that. So our sacred study helps us be prepared to receive that which we are treating for, that which is our heart's desire that's not currently here. It prepares us for that receiving. Think of sacred study as instruction manual. A manual, can't talk. Instruction manual. Did I break it? I did. Ooh. Ooh. As an instruction manual for how to use our spiritual toolbox. Now, this month, we've provided you with lots of tools. In fact, all year, we've been providing you with tools. And you may be looking at that toolbox and wondering, which one do I use in which situation? Do I have to use all of them all at the same time? What do I do? Which one should I use? When I was first learning to play golf, I carried a little notebook with me on the golf course. And I would write down how far my clubs would go because I didn't know. And if I figured out that a certain club went 120 to 30 yards, that became my 125 club. And anything in that range, I knew to get that club. Because when those clubs first came in, why do I have so many of them? What's the purpose of each one? What are they good for? What do I do? I knew how to use one club. I thought I knew how to use one club, the putter, right? Because we've all played mini golf. But I realized I didn't really know how to use that very well either. But anyway, so that was my study, if you will, of a game of golf to prepare myself to go on the course and have some fun with it. The same is true with our spiritual tools. What do we do with each one of these spiritual tools that we've been talking about and teaching about this year? Through sacred study, we activate and learn to trust our intuition and recognize that we are then guided to the perfect right tool for each situation. When do I use visioning? When do I use prayer treatment? When do I use meditation versus contemplation? We then become guided through our spiritual study, our sacred study, for any situation. Now, it's also true that sacred study teaches us something new. Recall your first introduction to science of mind. Think back, whether that was in a center, your first time you read the magazine, whatever it may have been. It was new stuff, wasn't it? Most of us were not fortunate to be raised in this teaching like Reverend Lee was. So we came out of another teaching that was probably pretty different from this teaching. So when we started hearing these principles, we had to listen a little more. We probably had a lot more questions. And most of us were hungry to take the classes, to learn more about it. How can I apply it? How can I use this in my life? So we were learning something new. Who in here has been studying science of mind for 20 or more years? Most of us. Is there anything new for us to learn? Yeah, I see all of us that have done this saying, yeah. Yes, absolutely, there is. Holmes' writing is so amazing because he writes a sentence and it's for the beginner as well as the advanced because you can look at it in so many different ways and there's so much depth to it. And he was such a prolific writer that there's always something new, a new book, not that he's writing new books, but a new book that we find, a new article. The archives are full of stuff that hasn't even been opened yet. So there's always something else to study with Holmes. I think I've shared with you that I'm actually rereading The Science of Mind again this year. I do this now, it's about every other year. I go through the entire textbook. And I'm discovering new ideas, new ahas as I go through it, deepening in the things that I already know, looking at things a little differently. Text hasn't changed. We're still using the 1938 version that we've always used. But I've changed. I've changed as I've grown through my teaching, my practice. I've grown to experience the material in a new and different way. A lot of what I'm reading is like an old familiar sweater. I can start the sentence and finish it without reading it. It's a reminder of what I already know, but may not be applying in some areas or applying in a new way. Sacred study reminds us of what we already know, but forget to use. Anybody ever gone to a conference or a workshop or a seminar, get all fired up about the information? It's going to change my life. 2 weeks later, you can't even talk about the name of the seminar? Yeah. I think we've all done that one at one time in our life. It's until we embody the material, until we use it every day in our lives, we really don't know it. And this is why I created the Mindful Monday newsletter and the Prosperity Corner that's in our newsletter on Saturdays. These are applications of the principles that we can use in our lives. And I don't know about you, but if I'm learning new stuff, some of the old stuff gets filed away. Anybody else have that challenge? So it's good to have reminders. Oh, yeah, I know that. I can bring that back in a different way, in a new way. That's why we need to be reminded of what we already know. Each of us is an infinite being, sourced of the divine, sourced of God. We have access to that infinite intelligence, to that knowledge of the universe. But in our human condition, we just have to remember to access it, don't we? Do we ever forget to ask for prayer? I should have asked for prayer about that. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. I had a minister in ministerial school that used to always remind us, you can pray for anything. You can pray for anything. Doesn't have to just be the big stuff. Doesn't have to be just this category. You can pray for anything as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. As I was preparing for this, you all know that Zig Ziglar was one of my favorite teachers when I first got started in motivational work and study and so forth. And he had a quote that kept coming to mind. He says, "The person who dumps garbage into your mind will do you considerably more harm than the person who dumps garbage on your floor, because each load of mind garbage negatively impacts your possibilities and lowers your expectations." What's that computer thing? Garbage in, garbage out? Yeah. So the reverse of sacred study is allowing those garbage thoughts to come in. Negative thinking, judgment, blame, complaining, violence. Choose instead to fill your mind with sacred study and watch how your life then begins to change when we let go of those negative thought behaviors. Sacred study will become a vital part of our survival tools once we choose a spiritual path. It's a never-ending supply of the nutrition that we need for our mind and our hearts to sustain us on the journey. This week, I invite you to load your backpack up with some sacred materials and to embark upon your spiritual journey with all you need to sustain you. So if you would like to study these principles with us, I invite you to sign up for that Mindful Monday newsletter that comes out on Monday mornings. Reverend Lee and I send that out. And it's a recap of our talk on Sundays that you can then use throughout the week to practice and apply these principles into your life. You can sign up in the lobby with the QR code or send us an email. Sacred study is your spiritual practice this week. I'm going to invite you to dedicate 15 minutes every day to sacred study. You can borrow a book from our recently restocked lending library. Thank you, Denise DeLorean, if you're watching. She donated 2 or 3 giant boxes of books for us. And Beverly has stamped each one, and they're available in there to check out. You can buy a book in the bookstore, maybe our new book for next month. It's available. You can watch videos on TED Talks, YouTube, attend a lecture class, listen to an audiobook. Lots of ways. Sorry, got a tickle. Pick a space in your home and make it sacred. Create an altar. If you don't have one, maybe add a plant, a flower, a candle. Surround yourself with sacred materials so that when you go to that spot, you know that's your place of sacred study. You know that that's where you'll be. And then study for 15 minutes with the intent, set your intention of looking more deeply at your relationship to the infinite all. And as you read with that intention, or you listen with that intention, expect an expanded understanding of love, of life, and your own well-beingness. Ask yourself, who am I? As you read or listen to those sacred materials. Record any insights in your journal. Sacred study is an intentional commitment to expand our awareness. It's our path to freedom. Ernest Holmes says, when we think we have learned it all, we are just at another place to start learning anew in our ever upward spiral. And so it is for my part. Now it's your turn. Questions, comments, suggestions, complaints? Anybody?
Jill?
Yes?
How is our belief system different than what Buddha teaches? So what's the difference? Well, maybe what's the similarity between Buddhism and science of mind?
Love?
Yeah. That is very true.
Would you like to add? You know more about Buddhism.
Well, I didn't want to make this about me, but that what? What? I think doing the right thing for the right reason. Um, I think our founder believed that intention, and in Buddhism, intention is everything, and in our belief system, intention is everything.
Yeah, which plays back on to done as we believe. So our intentions are as we believe, and it would be done that way under the law. So, yeah, thank you. Welcome back. Anyone else? Sacred study. I know it works. How so?
Just manifestation for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Meditating every day, it shows up. Yeah. Clearly.
Please feel free, either of you, to correct me if I'm incorrect, but my understanding is that both teachings believe that we're all connected, and whether we are doing so on purpose or not, things that I might do will impact you or somebody that I don't know who's not somebody in my immediate circle, the energy that I'm putting out and also receiving. So that seems to me like maybe another similarity between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. The oneness principle. Yeah, all connected, all one. Thank you. I haven't brushed up on my Buddhism lately. Anyone else? I went really short today. I think I need to pull out the rest of my notes. Wow. Y'all are going to get home in time for lunch. Beverly, there you are. It's like, no.
I have a question that, because I'm not educated about Buddhism, but one of our strong threads of science of mind is, it just went in and out my mind. Let me think for just a second here. Well, it's gone. As soon as somebody else talks, it'll come back. Somebody else ask a question or talk.
You just speak it out when it comes up. Just blurt it out. Blurt it out. Anybody else? A little extra time today. There you go.
The power of thought. That it's so strong. I mean, it's one of our strongest threads of science of mind, the power of thought, that what you think is what you create. So I was just curious if that's a thread in Buddhism.
One thought I might be mistaken about Buddhism is that thought is kind of the not so helpful, that we want to get to the essence and get beyond thought.
The no, what do they call it? No something. Non-attachment. Yeah, non-attachment. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you all for being with us. Shall we pray? All right. As we come together in this moment as community, we recognize that there is one infinite power and presence that is in through and as all of life, in through and as all faith traditions, all practices, and that all is sacred, and that each of us in this moment stands on holy ground. For in the allness and the oneness that is, we are that. We are united in that wholeness, in that oneness, in that God presence, in the allness of life. We know it to be infinite intelligence and wisdom. We know it to be pure, unconditional love, pressed down and overflowing. And all of it is here now, in, through, and as each of us, as an expression of it. And so as I know that, I speak my word for and about everyone that's gathered here today, those joining us on the internet who are with us live, and anyone who is joining us later on watching this video. For we know in this oneness that there is no separation, no time and space. And so I speak a word of blessing on each of us, knowing that we are each divinely guided and guarded, and that our intuition is active and supportive to each one of us in each and every step of our lives, that we are sourced of this divine presence for all of our needs, be they ideas, information, health, prosperity, wisdom, whatever it might be. We step into that infinite flow of the divine intelligence that is moving in through and as each of us in every moment. And we open to be receptive to that for the greater awareness and greater expansion of our lives, knowing that they are whole, perfect, and complete in this moment and the next as we continue our upward spiral of expansion, of realization, of spiritual release. I know that this community is blessed as a divine idea in the mind of God. And I know that each and every one that attends, has attended, and will attend in the future is blessed and is a blessing to this community. I know that each of us is prospered in each and every way in our lives, and that this community is prospered as well. And so I know that if there's anything that anyone has on their heart this day, as they lift it into this prayer, we surround it with our light and our love, and we know the complete and total manifestation. Whatever is needed as far as healing, as far as financial flow, creative expression, creative ideas, healthy relationships, love, joy, peace, whatever it might be. We just receive and accept that now. And I receive it and accept it with a grateful heart as I release this into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done and it is so. And we affirm this truth together by saying, and so it is.